Okay, back with a second presentation. This was the winning team, and they had an outstanding presentation, but they had one problem with it, and that is they actually had too much information, and they never really distilled it down and told you the three things they did that were particularly right. But they did some magnificent things in this presentation, and I want you to see uh, how it flowed. So again, this is the winning team from a previous year. The gentleman that built these charts did this in his professional job. And so he was very proficient with PowerPoint and building charts. So these are beautiful, but I'm going to tell you, you don't need to get this extravagant. The way you explain it is the red diamonds are their company performance. The blue line is the industry average, pretty easy to see. And these little bars are the industry variation. And you can see from this beautiful slide very quickly where did they fit. They were kind of middle of the road in revenue, and then year 14 and onward, they were usually leading the industry. Okay, pretty clear how they did on revenue. Earnings per share, again, you see this really key picture that you get very quickly where they fared. Now you get into a little bit too much. They want to give you all the elements, earnings per share, ROE, stock price. Could have done with fewer of those because you'll notice they're all fairly similar. Here they talk about their market share. Notice a problem here is there was no context, but they do make the point here that year 15 and onward, they exited the private label market and never tried to compete again because they were focused on instead building their worldwide market share in the branded areas. This is a technique you can try. I encourage you to not do this because it's too much information. And literally what they're going to do over the next several slides is tell you what they did year by year, good and bad. And they're very hard on themselves. You'll see they obviously perform very well, but if it wasn't optimum, they told you it wasn't optimum, and you're going to see some redundancy in information. So the dig on them was too much information, not enough theme, if you will. But notice how beautifully they drew these slides where they show you what their revenue is in the blue bars, and in the red line, that's their earnings. And so they walk you through year by year. Again, I think this falls in the category of too much information. This is where they put a very busy slide up there, but they used it very effectively. So what they say is that between adding plant capacity and upgrading their plants, they spent a total of 173, and it's not $1,000, it's $173 million. And that's how much money they took out in loans, $170 million. And they said that we were able to do this without doing any, handle this level of debt without going and issuing more stock. In fact, you can see that they started on a share repurchase program fairly quickly, and they also kept a solid dividend. So this was a great way, fairly busy slide, but a great way to summarize their corporate finance strategy. Again, beautiful slides, very accurate, just too much. And so you can see they talked about them being the low cost people, and you're going to see that's what they were. They were consistently the lowest priced shoe, I'm sorry, the cheapest shoe to manufacture, even though eventually they started running their models up quite a bit. So now this is where they get their competitive advantage when they get to this point and they have high number of models and yet are keeping the cheapest shoe. And you can also see that they were usually at or above everybody else on the SQ rating. This is why they won. But they don't really tell you that. This is the sort of slide that they could say, we're going to show you how we won. And I don't remember, they probably did it with their words, but you're going to see they kept doing it for all the different regions. So this is what they were able to do. Notice they haven't talked about too much what their strategy was. How did they get to this point? What specifically did they do to keep their costs so low? There were some key things they did. They don't talk about it in a nice summary fashion. Here's where they get into it. So this is what we did. Some of it is just um, not very insightful. What I mean by that is, well, of course, that's how you did it. But they tried to get into that, but then they do it in each of the regions. Now they talk about what they're going to try to do in additional years. This is a nice way to segue, a nice way to end the presentation. Based on everything we've shown you, this is what we're going to do in the future to make us successful. And basically what they were telling you is we're going to continue to do what we've been doing because it's been working for us all along. And I don't think they showed this slide because this would be a terrible slide to step off with. You would want to step off with the last slide. So beautiful slides. They correctly identified their issues, but they didn't always as clearly present those issues to the audience as I would expect. Now, they did a very good job in their commentary, and they came to me before they gave their presentation, showed me the slides, and I said, you have too many slides, you have too much information. And so the critique the other board members gave them is, you went too quickly through your slides. It was because they actually brought too much information to the board for the time constraint they were given. But nonetheless, some beautiful slides, very well crafted. Frankly, they spent more time in building the slides than I would necessarily expect some of y'all, because even though I know how they did this, these are not easy slides to do. I'm going to show you another good example, but one that will probably be closer to the type of slides that you're going to build in the next and last video.